There is a version of you that only comes out at 3 a.m. Not the version that answers emails, not the version that shows up to work, not the version that laughs at dinner and says, "I'm fine," when someone asks how you're doing. A different version, quieter, heavier, the one that waits until the house is still and the world goes dark, and then sits with you in the silence. You know this version. You've met it before. It comes when you can't sleep, when your phone is face down and the ceiling offers nothing, when every thought you've been running from all day finally catches up because there's nowhere left to run. And the thoughts it brings aren't ordinary thoughts. They're the kind that feel too big to carry and too dark to share, the kind you'd never say out loud in daylight, the kind that make you wonder, is something wrong with me? Does everyone feel this? Or is it just me? Why does this happen? Why does 3 a.m. turn us into someone we barely recognize? And more importantly, what is that version of you actually trying to say? She had built what looked like a good life from the outside, a career, a home, people who loved her. And during the day, she moved through it all with the practiced ease of someone who had learned to function beautifully on the surface. She answered messages quickly. She met her deadlines. She smiled in the right places. But at 3 a.m., lying in the dark with her eyes open and her chest heavy, she was someone else entirely. The thoughts came like water through a crack, slow at first, then everywhere. You're not where you should be. The years are moving faster than you are. The people who love you don't know the real version of you. You are performing a life, not living one. She never told anyone about 3 a.m. because in the morning she could dismiss it. By daylight, the thoughts seemed dramatic, overblown, the kind of thing you'd feel embarrassed to admit. So she packed them away and went back to functioning until the next night and the next and the one after that. What she didn't know, what most people never learn, is that 3 a.m. wasn't her enemy. It was the only honest conversation she was having with herself. Here is what psychology actually tells us about the darkest hours of the night, and it changes everything. Your brain has two systems running simultaneously at all times. The first is the one you're familiar with, the conscious, rational, socially aware mind that manages your public self. It filters your thoughts. It edits your emotions before they reach the surface. It keeps you functional, presentable, and moving through the day. The second system is older, deeper. It doesn't care about appearances or social norms or what you need to get done tomorrow. It cares about truth, and it is always processing beneath your awareness, beneath the noise, the things you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel. During the day, the first system dominates. You're busy, you're distracted, you're performing. The second system gets crowded out by deadlines and conversations and the relentless forward motion of daily life. But at 3 a.m., when the stimulation drops away, when the distractions go quiet, when the performance is finally over, the second system rises, and it brings with it everything you've been postponing, every truth you've been managing around, every feeling you put in a drawer and told yourself you'd deal with later. This is why 3 a.m. thoughts feel so much heavier than daytime thoughts. It's not that they're more dangerous, it's that they're more real. They're the unfiltered signal from a part of you that has been trying to get your attention for a very long time. You know this feeling, that moment in the dark when a thought arrives that you didn't invite. Maybe it's about a relationship that isn't what it used to be. Maybe it's about a version of your life you imagined that looks nothing like where you actually are. Maybe it's about someone you lost, something you regret, a choice you made that you can't unmake, a choice you didn't make that you can't stop thinking about. And here's what makes 3 a.m. so isolating. Not just the darkness, not just the quiet, but the certainty that you are the only one awake in the world feeling this, that everyone else is asleep, unbothered, resting peacefully, while you lie here with thoughts that seem too heavy for one person to carry. But that's not true. It was never true.
At this exact moment, in cities and towns across the world, there are thousands of people lying in the dark with the same weight on their chest, feeling the same ache, asking the same questions. The 3 a.m. version of you is not unique in its pain. It is universal in its honesty. So what do you do with it? What do you do when the thoughts come and the ceiling offers nothing and the dark feels like it has weight? The worst thing you can do, and most people do this, is fight it. The instinct is to push the thoughts away, to tell yourself to stop being dramatic, to remind yourself that you have things to be grateful for and that other people have it worse and that you'll feel better in the morning. All of which may be true, none of which helps at 3 a.m. because 3 a.m. doesn't want your logic, it wants your attention. The thoughts that come in the dark are not problems to be solved, they're messages to be heard. And when you fight them, when you push them back down and roll over and try to force yourself back to sleep, they don't disappear, they just wait. They'll be back tomorrow night and the night after, until you finally sit with them long enough to hear what they're actually saying. The shift is this. Instead of asking, how do I stop these thoughts? Ask instead, what are these thoughts trying to tell me? Because every dark thought at 3 a.m. is pointing at something real, something that matters, something your filtered, functional daytime self has been too busy to acknowledge. The thought that says you're not where you should be, it's not destruction, it's wake-up call. The thought about the relationship that doesn't feel right anymore, it's not cruelty, it's clarity. The thought about the life you imagined versus the life you're living, it's not failure, it's your own compass finally getting a word in. 3 a.m. is not where you break, it is where you become honest. And honesty, real, unfiltered 3 a.m. honesty, is the beginning of every meaningful change a person ever makes. Most people will live their entire lives running from this version of themselves. They'll fill every quiet moment with noise. They'll stay busy enough that the second system never gets a turn. They'll medicate the feeling and scroll through the dark and do everything except sit with the thoughts long enough to understand them. And the ones who don't, the ones who stop fighting the dark and start listening to it, discover something that changes them permanently. They discover that the 3 a.m. version of themselves is not the broken version, it is the most honest version, the one that has been patiently waiting through every performance and every filtered response and every "I'm fine" for the chance to finally speak. You are not falling apart at 3 a.m., you are falling awake. The thoughts will come again, they always do. And next time, instead of fighting them, instead of dismissing them as dramatic or dangerous, try something different. Lie still, let them arrive, and ask the one question that changes everything. What are you trying to tell me? The answer has been waiting a long time to be heard.